Hello and welcome to episode 21 of these here RPG tutorials. Today we're just going to add charge for the warrior. The goal with this is to just kind of have a different ability, but to kind of see how easy it is to add a second skill within this system. We're also going to be swapping in level unit packet into the skills because I think it's more valuable than what I did with just passing in a grid and the enemies. We'll just have to decide what the enemy is inside it, which takes just a flag and whatnot. Anyway, that's the goal for today. See how quickly we can do it. And then, yeah. If you're enjoying these videos, like, subscribe, comment. Really does help me out. Really would like to get monetized. Need to just get pushed over the edge. Would really appreciate it if you guys would engage with the video in some way or all the ways. Okay, let's get going. So, first thing we're going to do is in unit, we're going to decide what a hero is. So, is hero. And then we're going to set it to false. And then in hero, we're going to set it to true. Now, this is just a way, like I said, we need a flag to decide what a hero is. Is hero equals true. Very, very simple. Nothing special. Very straightforward. Is there other ways you could do it? I'm sure there's lots. This is super easy. I would recommend something like this. Okay, now in hero, we're going to come down here and we're going to go to definition, and then we're going to swap in a few things. First off, we're going to swap in our level unit packet. We always call it packet. So let's continue with that. And we are going to also be swapping that in here. All right, and then this is going to be packet.grid for now. And then we're going to pass in packet here. And then we're going to copy this because it's going to yell at us because it doesn't like it here. It's also going to complain at us in Fireball if we let it go far enough. Let's put that in. Now we have some fixes to do here because we just changed everything. So first things first, we have our grid. So we need to do packet.grid everywhere it says grid. That's not quite it. Okay, so we have that. That passes through there. Now we have to figure out what enemies are. Well, enemies are if owner.isHero, then what we need, actually, let's go back to hero and do this to get this, and then we can redo, and then Fireball, and then we would say list unit enemies equals new list. You actually don't have to do new list here, but I do it as a precaution that I don't screw something up later. So that is our list of enemies, and then we'd have an else here. I'm not going to set it up because I'm not getting that far. We'll get to that when we do some skills for the AI, but this is what we need. Then we need to swap out enemies. And let's build just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Looks good. Okay, so now that we have updated that, this is all working. It should be. I'm not going to test it right now, but I'm quite sure it's working. We're going to create the folder in skills for warrior. We are going to copy Fireball, paste it in, We're going to rename it charge. Oh, you know what? I forgot to do. I'm sorry. There. Sorry about the size on the font, guys. I do try to remember. I don't always remember. Okay, so charge. We need to put in charge here. Okay, now how does charge work? All right, charge to me goes in straight lines. And I find it interesting on my skills to have limitations at times. And charge, not being able to charge to a mob that is right next to it, seems like a valid limitation to me. It's going to put us in harm's way, so I want to make its damage do a decent amount of damage. But I don't feel like it's fair to say, oh, this thing's right next to me, I can always charge it if the cooldown's up or whatever. And we're not going to do cooldowns right now, but we'll get into those later. All right. So that's my limitation. So I want to go in straight lines, so just in the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west. And I don't want to be able to charge to the location right next to me. So to do that, so right now we have here, get everything. Well, I don't want everything anymore. I just want north, south, east, west. So let's go to definition here. And then in this, we want to tell it only give me straight lines, right? So bool straight only. Now you could make the bool the opposite, right? Give me everything. But in this case, this is what I'm looking for. So all of this is the same. The only difference we have is we have an if statement here. And then this goes in our else now because it'll be everything. So the affirmative, I usually try to use the affirmative in the if. Not always. Sorry, something in my throat today. Again. Not always do I do it this way, but I try to keep the affirmative in the if. So straight only goes in here. I missed the writing the else, or maybe I coughed and deleted it. I don't remember. But all right, so we have this. We're going to do very similar things. Very similar things. What we are going to do is instead of this plus this is less than this, we're going to say this is less than this. So x's are less than range, and y's are equal to 0. Why is that the way that it is? Well, when you're trying to go cardinal directions, you want the other direction to be 0 in order to get a straight line. What would the math be on that? Or the logic? So a straight line deviates in only one direction. It doesn't deviate in two directions. So this is deviating in a single direction and not in the other, right? So this is essentially a not. Not deviate is what that means. Okay, so we're going to take this, copy paste it. We're going to switch out x's and y's here. Okay, so that gives us cardinal directions, or at least we hope it does. We'll double check it in a little bit, but we're going to assume it does for a second, and we're going to come into charge. We're going to tell it that this is true. It's also going to complain and say, hey, what you doing to me? Because we added a new variable. And then on Fireball, we're going to say false. False. And this should also be in charge, and this one's going to be true. All right, so we have cardinal directions, still a range 3, just like the last one, but now we need to get range 1. Why do we want range 1? Well, I don't want to be allowed to go in range 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to find range 1, oops, exclude slots. So we're going to first get all of the range, then we're going to get the ranges of 1, and then we're going to remove the ranges of 1 from targetable spots. So targetable slots. So int I equals 0, I less than exclude slots dot count I plus plus targetable slots dot remove exclude slots I. Okay, so we have all 3 in our cardinal directions, but now we're going to remove the closest one, so we should have 2 floating out here, 2 floating out here, 2 floating out here, 2 floating out here. We'll check that in a minute. What is the logic of our charge? Well, we no longer need to create a projectile. What we do need to do is we need to first find the direction we're charging in. Oh, I guess do damage, right? Let's do damage first, right? Let's do damage first. So enemies j dot take damage, and then we're gonna, it's the owner, and then what was our damage? Let's see. This, which is stats dot get stat from name damage value. And then this is not just stats, it's owner dot stats. Okay, so that does damage. Oh, sorry. Times 2. I want it to hit hard. Right, so we're boom. We're gonna, whatever our damage is, it's double. It's a conditional ability. So we're gonna overpower it a little bit, see what happens. Okay, so that's our damage. Now we need to find the closest slot to the enemy that is also between you and the enemy. Okay, so to do that, we need 2 steps. We need to find the direction, and then we need to find closest slot. All right, direction's super easy, right? So vector 2, direction, and then so it's target minus destination minus the start position. So the destination is the enemy. So enemies j dot current location or current loc minus owner dot current loc. Super simple. This is going to give us the cardinal direction that we need to go in. We know it's a cardinal direction because we're only allowed to select cardinal directions. So then the math becomes very easy to figure out which direction we're going in. So this gives us a direction. So let's say that we were in 2, 2 and the enemy was in 2, 5. Then this is going to give us 0, 3, which is what we want. And that's awesome. Okay. So we have our direction. Now, where is this slot? Well, the slot we want is the one closest to the mob. Well, our direction, remember, has 0, 3 in it, so we know that it's 3 away. Well, we only want to go that minus 1, right? So the way we do that, and this is kind of a cool piece of math that I don't think I did before for you guys, but it's a nice one. I use it a lot, so you know, you may like this. So current loc plus, and here it comes. So new vector 2. What exactly are we doing? So we want to move in the direction, but we don't know which direction. We haven't tested for the direction. That's okay. We don't need to know. What we want is direction x minus 1, and there's going to be more to this. I'm just going to do the starts for both. Direction dot y minus 1. Okay. But if I minus 1 from 0, then I have a negative 1. So this doesn't just inherently work. We have to make this work. So we have to multiply that times, and there's going to be more to this. I'm going to develop it one piece at a time. We want to do direction dot x divided by math dot max of 1 or direction x. Okay, so what does this do? Well, this gives us a unit value. So if this is 3 and this is 3, then we get a 1. So with the direction of negative 1 minus 1 would give us a correct answer. Now we know that the 0 is what we're trying to throw out. Well, if this is 0, now it's negative 1. We divide 0 by 1, giving us 0, and then we multiply 0 into 1 and get 0 here, which is what we're looking for. There's one other caveat. This does not handle negatives and positives well. It's going to flop your signs when you have two negatives. So what we want to do here is say math.absolute value around the whole thing. Now, we'll go over the second condition just to show that it's also correct. All right, so if this is 3, we subtract 1, it's 2. Then we say 3 divided by 3 is 1. So 1 times 2 is 2. So we've gotten rid of our negative, and we keep our 2, which is what we wanted. So now we have the new location that we're trying to get to. Hopefully that makes sense. This is a little bit complicated, but it means I don't need to know anything about this, and I can get my correct direction to move in. You can do a bunch of testing on this. You can get this. You can find out everything you need to about this, and then figure out your new location. But this will work. Works all over code. It's really a good little function to do all this. Okay, so now that we have our new location, we need to say owner dot set loc, and loc is packet, comma new loc, and we're gonna force it in this case. Okay, so this is why I actually needed it up here. So this caused me to change it. I thought about changing it before. I'm like, it'll be fine. I like this better. I don't want to deal with this stuff inside my function. I'd rather just pass in what the enemy is. It makes the rest of my code a little bit more simple. Didn't work out. I needed the packet. I didn't want to recreate the packet. I wanted it always to be the correct packet, so I passed it through instead. All right, let's run this mamma jam. Oh, you know what we haven't done? We haven't told Warrior that he has charge. So let's take 1 second and do that. So let's look at Mage, grab a fireball, notice where it's positioned, right above set buttons, and then this is going to be charge. All right, let's run it. Hopefully we haven't screwed it up too bad. Play, we want to keep our warrior now. Start game. We're here, we're going to move right. Now this should give us 2 on each side, so that's correct. And if I click on this, I should move to this spot. Ooh, messed something up. Messed something up. What did we mess up? Charge. I bet I flip the sign somewhere. What did I do? Well, we're gonna bug test here. So I'm gonna pull this out. That way we can test for it better. See what I did. Maybe my other one was, I only tested one scenario, and the other one I may just have something backwards. Let's see. Start game. We're here. It's going to take forever to move to close something, but we're going to just take a second and do it. Alright, so we have our breakpoint in. Clicky. Okay, new loc. So that is clearly not correct. Directions -2. That's correct. -2. Okay, so the issue that I have is I didn't handle the flopping of the -1. And on this side, I am not absolute valuing the direction. So let's go through it from left to right. So in order to handle this -1, we need to multiply it times a number that is going to give me a -1 when it's negative to give me a positive, because if I'm going negative, I need to move back positive. And to do that, we do a very similar thing than we do to the other side. So direction.x divided by math.max 1, and then direction.x. Now here's an issue. Here's what I forgot to put in before, which is math.absolute value here. So we have 2 absolute values, not 1. That's a mistake I made. Over here you got to do 2. Here is just 1, because you actually need the -1 or the +1 here to flip this back and forth. This, we now come over here and say, okay, we have the absolute value. We have, make sure it's not 0. Then we have direction x, but this has to be math absolute value. And the reason for that is that if this is negative, it's below 1 and it's using 1. So, whoops. Mistake made there, and then like I said, I forgot to handle this 1. I tested this beforehand, but I clearly tested in a direction it liked. It liked the positive directions and not the negative directions. Let's go ahead and copy this over to our y. And swap out y for x, and then we will test it, and it should be working as long as I have managed to solve this correctly, but I tested it in all 4 directions before coming back. Sorry about that, guys. That took me like 15 minutes to debug because I couldn't figure what I had screwed up, and that was what I screwed up. I hadn't put that in, but I was getting weird answers because I also hadn't handled the -1. Let's run it. See if we can get all 4 cardinal directions. If not, we'll run it a few times to see them. At least 1 positive, 1 negative. So to do that, we do that. Alright, so now we should be able to hit here and go up. This is a negative direction. Correct. Another negative direction. Worked. These were being left behind. We'll deal with those another time. I need a positive direction. It's not, there we go. There's a positive direction one right there. Got it. I can't get this direction right now, but that's another positive direction. Should work just fine. You can see that they work. Alright, guys. Sorry about that. I clearly didn't test my prompt well enough. I wanted to give you guys a really cool piece of code. In this, and I think it is an extremely good piece of code. I should have done better at remembering this absolute value, and I should have also double checked that. That's on me. But you can see the mistakes that people make. This is a much more complicated way of doing things, but by doing it, you simply don't have to worry about the direction things are going in. And it's a really handy piece of code in order to get a good outcome or a great outcome without having to do a bunch of test code. Also more complicated though, so if you're don't feel comfortable with this, all you have to do is test your direction, which way it's going, write some if statements into what you're doing, and then you can have it done. But this works all over the place if you just do it right. I mean, I clearly screwed it up, but yeah. Anyway, if you got this far, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all those kinds of things. I mean, it really, really does help me out when you guys interact with the video and the channel. And yeah, I will talk to you guys next time.